guys heard of this? The Tinder Swindler? It's been going pretty viral here on Netflix recently. But I had some time this past weekend. I'm in my wallows, wallowing over the low results that my show turned out. So I decided to watch this show or not the show. It's this documentary on Netflix called The Tinder Swindler. And Netflix released it a couple of weeks ago, and not to give too much away, but basically the premise of it is it's about this sort of guy who is very wealthy or appears very wealthy and asks a bunch of women out on dates or whatnot, and they end up being his friends or his partners and whatnot, and he eventually takes money from them, and he uses Tinder as kind of his host to sort of look for these vulnerable women that he can take advantage of financially, and get the money. And so the story focuses on three women in particular, and basically it talks about their stories, but it also kind of talks about how they sort of banded together to get revenge of their own. So that's basically the plot of the whole thing. It obviously goes way deeper than that. I don't want to give too much away of the scam. It's very intricate, very specific, and you should probably watch it if you want to actually get the full details of it. But let me go into depth as to what I think of this whole Tinder Swindler thing, because it's pretty crazy and it's going pretty viral right now all over the internet. Here's what scares me. This guy, Simon, that's his name, he's the ultimate scammer, okay? I guess I'm going to have to spoil it for you. He wasn't arrested. Literally nothing has happened to him. He's a free man. He can do it again. And he's probably doing it now. Apparently he has a girlfriend. Is he taking money from her? I have no idea. But honestly, the thing I was thinking the whole time watching this thing, and particularly finding out that this man is free and this man is a free dude who is out living his life, his very luxurious life, is that this would be such a fun interview. I would love to get him on the Changavi show. I would love for me and this dude to sit down and have an interview about his scam and let him tell his side of the story, and we could break it down and we could have a conversation and just talk about it. I feel like it would be a fun thing to talk about. It's it's very interesting. But I think what scares me more than this guy being free and being able to potentially scam these people is the fact that this documentary isn't getting the publicity that I think it should. Yes, this documentary has gotten publicity. It was trending on Netflix for a bit, but it's kind of dipped in popularity as of recently. I've been keeping my eye on it. It was number one for a couple days, but it's dipped. I think there's been some other shows that have come out and whatnot, but it's not getting enough publicity. And this dude has fucked up women's lives. They're still paying him back in debt, and there's just a lot of crazy stuff that's going on. And I'm sorry to spoil it for those of you that haven't watched it. But it's still, I bet you could tell by the title, The Tinder Swindler, no shit, he's going to be a scammer. He's not going to be some fucking hopeless romantic. But listen, here's another angle you could look at this whole Tinder Swindler thing. Don't you think clout let me start over. Don't you think clout could potentially build this dude a big group of fans? Now his story is public. It's out. But it's kind of like that Ted Bundy effect, right? Obviously, this dude is not a serial killer. But when Ted Bundy would go to court and testify his case, there were so many young girls and young women that, because he was good looking, because he appeared to be wealthy, successful, he was well-spoken, articulated everything he was saying in court very well, that he was a good guy. I feel like something similar could happen with this dude as well. He's a relatively attractive man. He's got a lot of money. He, spends it going on private jets and on boats and all of these things. And I'm not just saying, I think will there be a group of women that are all over this man? I'm not saying it's everybody. Don't cancel me for that. But it's the Bundy effect. This happened back in the 80s. And I don't think anything has naturally changed with people to the point where there wouldn't be a group of fans online, some corner of the internet that is fangirling or fanguying. I don't know what your preference is, whatever, over this person. I think there's sort of going to be a Ted Bundy effect here. in terms of the fact that he's gonna gain clout, and his followers have gone consistently up on both Instagram and TikTok. He has 2 accounts up, by the way, and I believe he was verified on Instagram for a hot second before they took his account down. I believe he still has a TikTok in which he posts, and he has fucking way more followers than I do, so good for him. But what about the women, right? Because this dude doesn't matter, right? He's an asshole. He financially scammed these women. So let's talk about the women for a second. My girl, Cecilia. I love Cecilia. If I was only in my late 20s, I don't know. You know what? I had a little Tinder Swindler crush, but that doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. Listen, this documentary did a really good job of like telling the story of everybody involved, not just him and not just kind of, his doing. It was obviously told from the perspective of the women, but it did a really good job of like going back and forth and really humanizing them, while at the same time like talking about this really intricate story that was going on. And listen, Tinder isn't even the crime here. I don't even think Tinder's at fault. They're just kind of the title. So they're getting free publicity. I downloaded the app right after, by the way. I deleted it like seconds later. I was, or not even seconds, but like minutes. I was like, wow, I am so unoptimistic about this app. So, I deleted it, but that's beside the point. But listen, it was so basically the 3 women, their names were Cecilia, Pernilla, and Eileen. And so there was 3 of them. They each kind of have their own story with this guy, which is sort of discussed within this documentary. Cecilia, kind of her story is basically she met him on Tinder. They fell in love, had a beautiful love affair. And, like it slowly got more sus. And, there were a lot of very evident red flags that were sort of planted within the documentary that make you want to scream at your TV and be like, what the fuck? Like, are you serious? Like, how do you not notice this? Are you dumb? Like, you're stupid. And then with Pernilla, it kind of does the same thing, sort of, talks to you about her relationship with him. They swiped on, they matched on Tinder and then moved on. And then the last girl, Eileen, is sort of the girl that is like, you know what? 3rd time's a charm, bitch. I'm going to, take matters into my own hands. And she sort of finds these 2 and brings them together, and they have this unlikely, bonding experience in which they sort of try to swindle money from him. Okay. So that's kind of what happens. And I feel like there's been a group of the internet, because I've been doing a lot of research on this documentary, and there's a group of people on the internet that are saying these women are naive. They fell for red flags. They're idiots. They're fucking stupid. They're, they should be arrested for their lack of common sense. And listen, I don't necessarily agree. I think that there is some naivete involved, sure, but also hindsight is 2020. These are the same people that on Monday morning, when their favorite NFL teams, all 22, comes out, they are the ones that point out all the missed reads and are like, he missed it here, the quarterback missed the read here, and here. But I'm like, you weren't playing in the game. You don't know what was going on in the moment. In the moment, a lot of things are very different compared to 3 years later when this documentary is coming out and you're sitting on your nice plushy couch, right, calling all the shots. It's very different. You have to respect these women for what they were doing and what exactly was going on. And you can't necessarily say that you would have made a different decision, because you don't know what decision you would have made if you weren't in that situation, if you weren't in that frame of mind. And these poor girls, I feel really bad for all of them, because they're all still paying back their debts. So they paid this guy and they gave this guy a lot of fucking money, which they kind of go really into depth in the documentary about how much money they really gave these people. They set up a GoFundMe. I'll link it in my thing down below so y'all can contribute. I really hope you do, if you can. Their story's pretty sad. Go watch it first and then contribute if you feel the need. If you don't have the money, then that's fine too. Just know the story, I guess. Look, the narrative, I mean, I don't like the narrative of the scamming. I'm going to go back to that with these girls, right? There's so many people that are saying this, that are saying like, oh, they're naive, they're idiots. But the counter is simple. Like, why are there, like, if they're so naive, if they're so like in over their heads, why are there documentaries coming out about scammers like every other year? You had the Fire Festival. You've had several financial scam documentaries. You've had Theranos, which was a scammed business. You've had, scammers are everywhere. And it shouldn't be like a shameful thing like, oh, I would have seen it differently. I see it differently now that you're presented with all of the information. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't. So like, here's the thing. They've and by the way, they've raised close to about $100,000, which is dope. So I'm happy. But like you would expect, this is a Netflix documentary. Like, why isn't this have more press? Why isn't this caught fire amongst the world? So I'm here to say, go watch the Tinder Swindler. I think it'd be good. And also, the guy Simon, the scammer, said he's going to release his side of the story on Instagram. He put up this whole post, so I want to be able to see that and hear that. And like I said, he's big chillin', still wealthy, all that. So crazy stuff. But what's the one lesson we can all take away from this Tinder Swindler affair? What can we do? And I think the answer that you have to have is empathy. You have to have empathy for these women. I'm not saying that they were, maybe it was a little bit of naiveness. I'm not even going to lie. Maybe naiveness was involved within this narrative, within this story. And I could definitely see why. But you also, dude, look, like there are people that are going to say like they wouldn't have fallen for it, and that this is, they're smart as hell, and this is some dumb scheme that they could have smelled out from miles away. But be empathetic, be nice to these women. They didn't do anything wrong. Don't hate on them. Okay, hate the guy, don't hate the women. That's my point. And I think the lesson that I took away from this is like, don't just hate for the sake of hating. Like, these poor women are still trying to like put their lives back together after this scam. And it's just Monday morning quarterbacking at the end of the day, like what people are doing. It happened, right? Shit happens. People get scammed all the time. Freddie Mac happened. Enron happened. Theranos happened. Fire Festival happened. Like, the shit goes on. Accept it. Move on. Spread positive vibes. So that's what I'm going to say. The conclusion is to this whole Tinder Swindler scam. Accept it. Process it. Empathize with the women. Fuck the guy. And move on. Just say, fuck him. That's it. That's my take from this whole thing. Wrapped up. 30 seconds. But yeah.